One person wanted to know how we deal with climate change. Someone else wanted to know about mountaintop removal mining. And then we also had somebody that said, with a political environment that just says no, how can we say yes to environmental protection? Your thoughts on this topic?
On the issue of the energy sector, I think the Republicans have said no to American jobs. I think that the failure to act, the sheer cowardice that it took of them to stand up and say that they were happy to allow Chavez and Ahmadinejad and petro-dictators around the world to win, to allow Chinese manufacturing to beat American manufacturing. I mean, what hole do you have to be living in to not realize these are the jobs of the next 25 years? And that every year that we wait, more of those jobs go overseas. More of that investment goes overseas. This is a time, America doesn't sit back and say, well, let's let other people do it. We do it better than anyone else. We get there first. And we can still do that in energy. And we need a national energy policy in order to send that market signal to let capitalism do its work. The private sector will do it if we send that signal. Just look at what we've been able to do in the 5th District over the last year. We're working with some of the biggest dairy farmers to turn cow manure into power. So instead of paying to subsidize milk, to clean up the bay and everything else, we're making an investment in an anaerobic digester. We're working with poultry farmers. We're working with the people that make window film in Martinsville that are actually exporting to Asia, helping to cut people's electric bills in half. We're looking with advanced battery technology, which when we came into office, America had 3% of that market. We're projected to have 40% of that market by next year in advanced batteries. Looking at the next generation of cars. Looking at biofuels. I want us to make it here in America. We have gas stations in my district, in our district, where instead of you driving up and getting 3 cents on your dollar to stay in the community, 93 cents of your dollar stays in the community because it's supporting local farmers as well as the refiners as well as the manufacturers. This is how we're going to have to rethink if we're going to outcompete China. And they're not waiting around to see if we're going to do it. So I absolutely think we need to be bold in the energy sector. I think that when the Senate killed that, led by the Senate Republicans, they were popping champagne in a lot of very scary places around the world. We've got to be more patriotic than that, more courageous than that. We've got to step up. We've got to solve this thing. We've got to be first.
Thank you, Congressman.
Do we need an energy policy? Of course we need an energy policy. I think we need a common sense energy policy. Congressman Perriello was pointing out Chavez, Ahmadinejad, other South American leaders, other Middle Eastern leaders. Those leaders are from socialized countries. So what are we looking to do? We want to socialize our energy policy. We want to subsidize every innovative technology or technique. You know, that's not the answer. Listen, the market can take care of these things. I have a vested interest in seeing renewable energies move forward. I have a project that I'm currently in the process of patenting that is an energy storage system. And I think that these things are important, but the market can drive these things. Technology can be brought about. Of course America can make jobs better than anyone else. Of course we can produce things, and we need to be in that business. But the answer isn't taking federal money and trying to decide or pick which renewable sources are going to be successul because it seems to fit our mode or the political, novelty of the time. If it's solar, if it's wind, if it's hydroelectric, whatever it may be, we have to look at common sense solutions, and we have to look at solutions that mean something. You can't point to things and say, well, you know, this country has wrong, look at what they're going to do, they're terrible, this is a horrible example of the United States, and then we are creeping down that path of socializing almost every single aspect of our economy and of our personal lives. And at some point, it has to stop. And just because people want to stop that doesn't mean they're opposed to a common sense energy policy. And I think to call it unpatriotic is maybe not genuine. I think there are common sense solutions, and I think it needs to be a bipartisan effort with people working across the board to come to a situation where does the free market play, where does the government work in partnership, and how, really, what can it do to stay out of the market's way in developing these new technologies? Because if it makes sense, if it's profitable, if it's going to save people money, there's no reason for corporations not to embrace this technology and move forward. I mean, and trust me, I understand how hard it is to convince people about new technologies. I understand that people need an opportunity to speak and to be heard. I don't think people want to limit that. What they're saying is we don't want the federal government, or we don't want to have to take from taxpayers to implement systems that haven't been proven, or maybe we don't see tremendous amount of viability in the near future.